Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Go Premanandi Ki Jai Nrsimhadev. So, there we are. I think I need the book, right? Oh, a new one. This is the book. Kann ich sowas? Sliding. Okay. You don't have a Bhagavatam, like a book form? No? Wow. Cool. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Verse 20. Okay. Vijnana Shapam Giri Shanu Gagranir Vijnana Shapam Giri Shanur Gagranir Vijnana Shapam Giri Shanu Gagranir. Oh, sorry. Nandi Ishvaro Rasa Kashaya Dushitaha Nandishvaror Rasa Kashaya Dushitar Nandishvaro Rasa Kashaya Dushitaha Dakshaya Shapam. Das ist ein V. Ja, das ist ein V. Visha Sharja Tarunam Dakshaya Shapam Nisha Sharja Tarunam Dakshaya Shapam Okay, Dakshaya Shapam. Vishasharja Darunam. Oh, wow. Dakshaya Shapam Nishasharja Darunam. Oh. Ye Chanva Modams Tat Avarch Yatam Dvijaha Ye Chanva Modams Tat Avarchyatam Dvijaya Dvija. Okay, one more time. Ye Chanva Modams Tat Avarchatam Dvijaha. Okay, so then please repeat. Any man, woman, please. Vijaya Shapam Girisanu Gagraniya Nishvaro Rosa Zitaha Jaya Sapam Girisanu Gagraniya Nandishvaro Rosa Kashaya Dushitaha Dakshaya Shapam Nishvaya Danjam Ye Chanva Mocham Tat Anvachatam Dvijaha. Ladies, Vijaya Shapam Girisanu Gagraniya Nandishvaro Roshakshaya Dushitaha Dakshaya Sapam Visasarjahanatam Ye Chanamodam Stat Abhachatam Dvijaha. Okay, then word for word. Vijaya, understanding. Shapam, the curse. Girisha, Girisha of Shiva. Anuga Agranihi, one of the principal associates. Nandishvara, Nandishvara, Rosha, anger. Kashaya, red. Dushitaha, blinded. Dakshaya, to Daksha. Shapam, curse. Visharja, gave. Darunam, harsh. Ye, who, cha, and. Anva mudam, tolerated. Tat avar tyatam, the cursing of Shiva. Dvijaha, brahmanas. Okay, so translation, Srila Prabhupada. Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishvara, one of the Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the brahmanas present there, who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words. Purport. But I think I need somebody to do sweeping. It's like, how to do that? Can you help me? This is, I don't know how to do that.
Just press on the either on the right or on the left. Now
Okay.
you're here.
Oh, I'm here? Okay.
Now you just, no, yeah. You press here on the left and here on the right.
I never had such a thing.
Good for you. You have
Yeah.
paper, huh?
Paper. I'm a paper man. Okay, so purport. The first curse by Nandishvara was that anyone supporting Daksha was foolishly identifying himself with the body, and therefore, because Daksha had no transcendental knowledge, supporting him would, what that means, deprive one of the transcendental knowledge. Daksha, Nandishvara said, identified himself with the body like other materialistic person, and who was trying to derive all kinds of facilities in relationship with the body. He had excessive attachment for the body, and in relation to the body, with wife, children, home, and other such things which are different from the soul. Therefore, Nandishvara's curse was that anyone who supported Daksha would be bereft of transcendental knowledge of the soul, and thus also be deprived of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so then one more time the verse. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as a most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent. Oh no, it's at 21, sorry. Yes, okay. Oh. How to do that? I'm in number 19 now, where I am 20. Okay, so here we are. Whoa. Translation, one more time. Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishvara, one of the Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the brahmanas present there, who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshur Militam Mina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Shali Shadaya Patram Yabhaktyadi Gunanavam Yatindrapanavan Vande Ramajaya Matamo Munim Lakshmi Nata Samarambam Natayamo Namatyamam Asmat Acharya Payantam Vande Guru Paramparam. So, sorry for getting not proper introduction into the Sanskrit, because it's very difficult verse to pronounce, and I'm not a very expert. But in general, coming to the fourth canto, as Prabhupada had particular given here the story, or explained the story of the situation, how it was when Daksha, the great Prajapati, who was in response to develop this universe, you could say, or impregnate humans with, with the urge to develop a society. Daksha is one of the Prajapatis. Prajapatis means those people who give the generations in future, who have a lot of descendants, and they're authorized by Vishnu to develop the universe with different living entities. So Prajapati Daksha was a very powerful impregnator of humans, and but because he deteriorated, and he actually not cursed, but he misbehaved, and misbehaved because he has given his daughter Sati to Lord Shiva, and so, but he in the same time was not very well behaving towards Shiva, because Shiva was in that time on his mission, you could say, to meditate, and so he didn't care about his bodily comforts, and there's some sects who follow Shiva in imitating him by living on cremation grounds, because Shiva was doing meditation in places where there were burning bodies, and he wanted to realize the self by that very austere penance. Living on a cremation ground is not a very easy thing. Jai Singadev. Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Narasimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Wow. Fiery outfit today. So so Shiva was meditating on these cremation grounds, and he got his inspiration by rejecting all bodily comforts in these places. So there are certain sects which called Kalamukas, which living on cremation grounds. Nowadays those people are called Agoris, but in ancient times those Kalamukas were very austere personalities who performed a very severe kind of practice by imitating Shiva himself. They are called also Vama Magis. Vama means left hand. Their practice is, you could say, black magic, kind of black magic, to overcome the material energy, or to subdue material energy by doing 5 ghastly things. These rituals are quite famous, called as Vamamag, but Shiva never really had these practices done on himself, but people just had this kind of concept, and they were opposing Vaishnavism, and they were opposing also the society. They were living out of the society. Even today, there are people who are called Agoris who do that kind of practice, but very rarely you see them really authentic. Anyway, so Lord Shiva was looking very ghastly, and coming to the yaga, because Prajapati Daksha wanted to perform this very huge ritual. We normally call it in the Vedas yagas. Yagas are different to different to the homas and we do in the temple. They're much smaller, and we call them lagu homa, which is lightweight. Doing pujas and homas in the temple are not compared to those rituals that Prajapati Daksha had performed. They are called stoma, Veda stomas, ratris also. Different kind of rituals where they're building a huge place made from wood and from bamboo, and the altars of the homa are completely prescribed in different Vedas sections, and the rituals take sometimes a month to prepare, and the development inside the ritual is like it's like maybe it's very closely concept to what we do in our fire rituals, but in general it's very extensive. There are many Brahmins applied to perform these rituals, and they are expert in the Vedas. They have to recite, sections which are not normally much developed. Let's say some secret text of the Aranyakas, which we find only for hermits, because the Vedas are divided into two parts, Brahmanas and Aranyakas. And these Aranyaka sections are for people who live in the forest and perform rituals in the forest. So these all Vedas will put together and performed in a way that they're even giving diksha, means initiation into this ritual. And it takes, as I said, it takes a very long time, and many Brahmins are involved. And here you see also Daksha was not just, we could say Daksha was the Yajaman. He was not the performer, but he had Brahmins to perform these rituals. So you have to always understand that when you read these descriptions, the kings in olden days, or even these Prajapatis, were not performing by themselves the ritual, but they had other people to do, because they were expert in their field. So Prajapati was expert in managing and organizing, but he was not a Brahmana by his concept of living. So therefore, he had Brahmins to come. And as Shiva was coming in this arena to take part of the ritual, we have, like when we do a fire ritual, there's one part we chant some mantras, and these mantras go to all, go to Prajapati, go to Soma, go to Indra. So these mantras are there because we understand the concept of everything. It's supporting. It's not just Krishna and there's nothing else, but there's Krishna and his audience and his supporters. And these supporters are also being worshipped. So as was Shiva, is a very, very high personality, was coming in the arena, and Daksha didn't give him respect. So he was, making some bad comments about him. And that really, not really offended Shiva, but more his attendants, who were like his supporters. And Nandishvara is one great servant. He has a bull head and has a human body, and he wears a big club normally. And he was, going on his side always. And Shiva also has other, supporters of him, who are, some people say they are ghosts and goblins and these type of personalities. So they were very offended. And Nandishvara, he's a great yogi also. He's not, just ordinary half man, half bull, but he's like a really powerful being. So he was, as we see in this later on story, he was cursing Daksha. And the story develops in that way that Sati was so distressed that she burned her body, because she had that power to give up the body, because she thought, I am the daughter of Daksha, and so the body is connected in family line with Daksha. I should give up. Even I'm the wife of Shiva now. She offended my husband, so she burned herself. And then Shiva became very ferocious. And it said that this development of his anger produced a very special form, Virabhadra called also. And Virabhadra is finally coming to this arena and destroying and ending the ritual. So therefore it's said that all rituals we perform, we need to have the blessing of Shiva also. And so from that standpoint, we can see in the story how this slowly developed. If a holy saint is offended, like Nandishvara, but he himself was offended because his teacher or his guru was offended. So Shiva himself maybe didn't take that credit of offense, and he was like more a little bit smiling about that Daksha has given bad comments about him because he looked so odd, so with ashes from the cremation ground, and he had like a tiger skin around himself. He had some special seeds called Rudraksha around his neck, and these are all in connection of Nirvati Marga. Nirvati Marga means you're going on the path of giving up everything in this world and getting detached from society and living a hermit lifestyle. Yeah? So living far away from the society, and the necessities of the body will be very less, and and you eat also very less. And some people even say the taking of poison by Lord Shiva has developed the concept of taking ganja by his followers. So there's like a whole different concept with the Nirvati Marga to develop Krishna consciousness. As also Prabhupada mentioned, unfortunately the book has turned off here, that once you offend Shiva, your transcendental knowledge, or your, the way entering into this concept of spiritual development will be ended. And very interestingly enough, in the Vishnu Sahasranam also we have the name of Shiva. So it is not by mistake or saying that our demigod worship inside the Bhagavatam that we have Shiva here. But Shiva is like another form of Vishnu, which has get in contact with this material existence. Therefore, the worship of Shiva, we have great respect, and we will always, glorify Shiva, as he is one of the greatest Vaishnava. There's also a verse in the Padma Purana giving that a hint that Shiva is not one of the devatas, but is a very, very high elevated position. And it said, without his blessings, you're not to have the ability to leave this material world, because he's in charge of the false ego. So once you come close to the stage of leaving your ego behind, you need the blessing of Lord Shiva. So that is also one very important concept. So the brahmanas who normally have to decide, they are not in general, brahmanas or priests are not employed. They're not part of the society to get paid for, in the sense that they're under a king or something like that. Some people who study Indian history, they always say that the Brahmins were under the king, which is a wrong concept. The Brahmins were always independent, in a sense, otherwise how they can speak the truth? Because speaking true means you have no connection and you're not persuaded by the order of the king. The king has to listen to the Brahmins because they're speaking only the truth. And what Prabhupada wanted, that the Vaishnavas or the followers of him all become truthful. So that is a very important point. Truthfulness makes our life hard, I understand. It is not always easy to speak the truth to others and to be on the track of truth, because that makes ourselves sometimes, you can test yourself when you go in the community and it has some problems. It's like how you will speak the truth in front of everybody. It's very difficult. And but it is our duty to speak the truth. So we have to see that what is possible to speak in this moment and what is not possible to speak in this moment. So it becomes more like a political issue. But in general, we have to stick to truth. Because with truth is sattva gun, and with sattva gun we also develop, our spiritual activities. It is not that we can speak lies and, can be on a good track of spiritual life. This is not possible. We have to be very truthful, which makes it very difficult sometimes, especially when it goes off hurting. But everyone has to learn to be authentic himself, and it depends on everyone's level. It's not that you have to be imitating Prabhupada or you have to imitating Shiva, to be authentic and truthful like those agoris. It doesn't mean you have to live on a cremation ground to give up material desires, but you have to be truthful to yourself in a way that it from this you develop self-respect for yourself and respect for others, because people will see that you're not going around the cake. You go straight forward. You will have to say what you have to say, and with this you develop also spiritual goals in life, because it is what actually we are like, in the society of spiritual seekers. We have like a certain level. Let's say you get initiated into the first, and then you get second, and after this, what is coming then? You have to have also a goal in life. It is not ending with the initiation. Actually, it's said that when you get initiated, it's the start of spiritual life. It's not the beginning. Also, it's not like the end. It's not something, I have to make a goal for getting initiation. That is a very minor thing. And finally, when it comes to the different stages which you have to develop in your own personal life, you have to check yourself. Are you truthful enough to yourself? You can see, I have so many shadows. I really want to work on these shadows, or I'm just hiding them in the society to be a nice standing boy in front of everybody. So that is like, that I loved, I be accepted as a good person. Or you have to speak also the truth. And that, that maybe brings some obstacles. But everyone, has that inclination. That is a good thing. Already we have that inclination to be on the truthful path, because that is really what Prabhupada wanted. He was, and his acharyas and the whole tradition is not based on big temples or big projects. They were all based on the concept of giving knowledge to the society, to the blinded, to the people who don't want to listen even. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur had said, once there will be a time, the holy name will be spread in every town and every village. But how that can be developed? Only, I think, by honesty. Because people can take up only the spiritual practice when they see that you are honest with yourself. You cannot be, a showcase that will be only for a short time, and then it will diminish. But if you want to stay on a good path, and maybe you're not good in Sanskrit, or you maybe not good in other things, in cooking or in things, but there will be developed. This comes after some time. But the honesty and the truthfulness it's one of the main pillar. Because as we know that in Kali Yuga, these three, the story with Kali and the cow, and he slaughtered almost the cow and cut the legs of the cow. The truthfulness can still be in Kali Yuga, and that is something which we have advantage of. Because we are devotees, we are listening in our inner self. We are sitting doing japa while listening to our inner self. We are not doing japa and looking what others are doing. The japa time is for our inner self to develop. And the same thing in the society, when you go in the society to work and work with others who are not on the path, you will give the impression that you have something value in life because you're different. And on that different, you can be, so to say, proud. You can say for yourself, I have found my Vrindavan in my heart. But doesn't mean that you be, arrogant to the people outside. Or, I am Vaishnava and you are horrible karmis, you eat meat and all that. No, you have to be, Prabhupada always said, merciful. But I think that is going coherent with the concept of truth. Because once you have found something which is more value, what everything you find outside the world, which you can share with others, that will make a very big and deep impression on others. By this, I think we can really take over the society, not by big projects, big temples. That is the outside thing. It's nothing against big temples and big projects. I like Tirupati, I like Sri Rangam, those ancient places with huge temples which stay there for over than 2,000 years. Nothing against it, but it is hard to maintain. It is not that those temples have not seen any backside. Sri Rangam was plundered, I think, 3 or 4 times. The golden Vimana, which is in front of Ranganath, was taken down 2 times. The gold was taken, by the invaders. And it's also said that one of the eyes of Ranganath was stolen, so because there were big, huge diamonds. So it's one thing. You do an external, approach. You want to develop. You want to show spiritual communities. You want to show big, nice temples, which gives a lot of impression. That's one thing. But if we personally have not developed Satyam, then that will be all just another cult, another kind of religion which has so many problems. Yeah, so that is, I think, that is our goal. And that's like my personal experience for so many years being with the devotees is that finding the good thing in others, it's sometimes difficult, but I think that it helps to overcome our relationship with each other. Even we have some issues. Normally we would maybe not hang around with all of you together, Most probably we would hang with people who like our music, who like our kind of food or whatever, Some tastes which we have. And that taste, might be different. But we have, that really concept, like we would like to worship Narasimha, we like to get his blessings, we like to, listen to nice mantras. That thing, it's in our, and it's craving for more devotion to develop. And I think that makes us together. So, yeah, that is one of the main thing you can see here in the concept in the Daksha ritual, that the ritual most probably was one of the most far out thing you could ever see. Because the Brahmins were learned. They could recite Samaveda and Ratava Veda and backward and Ganapat and all kinds of types of reciting mantras, and most probably had offered a lot of things which are very, very impressive to see. But because the Daksha was an idiot, he just offended Shiva in a way that his attendants couldn't take it. And later on, his wife was even not, could take it, and she burned herself. And then from this, the whole thing started. Virabhadra came, and nowadays you see when there is it's said that Virabhadra, when he came, he destroyed the whole Yagashala and, almost killed Daksha, you could say. He took him and chopped off his head, and then, the Brahmins were saying, look, you cannot do that because Daksha is a Prajapati. He's not just any ordinary personality. If you have to revive him, When Shiva had that power, he could revive. So he saw a goat got the head of the goat and put it on his head. And even today, you find like drawings, murtis of Virabhadra, which are worshipped for family unification or for having a peaceful marriage. People worship Virabhadra in that form. On the little feet of Virabhadra is always shown Daksha with that goat head. So Daksha is always recommended, or is always remembered, like having that big offense to, it's like, a branding. Somebody in ancient times, when they were stealing or doing some robbery, they were branded in their face, and they were kicked out from the society. And whenever they went, they could see, oh, he's branded. He cannot be part of our society. But because he was Prajapati, they let him still impregnate the next generations, but with a different head. So therefore, be careful not offending any sadhu, any Vaishnava, and developing the concept of truth. Of course, people would say, no, it's like if I say to some sadhu the truth, then maybe he be offended. If it's the truth, you can speak it in such a way that the truth is not offending him. Otherwise, if he's a cheater, you have to call a cheater. You cannot say, or you have developed everything so nicely. You have to talk the things out. But, definitely he has also some good qualities. So that means you have to balance it in your speech, that he can accept the truth. But it's not everybody has to be a politician to speak out the truth, that just not to harm the offender. If something is wrong, one has to speak it. It's not that to keep it away and just that will develop into more problems. And finally, after that, society will suffer under this, because if you are not truthful, society, it's like a smell which is kept in a room. It's everywhere. It's polluting the whole atmosphere. So if there's some offenses which has been not dealt with properly, like for instance, you could say offenses against women, offenses against children, offenses against old people, against people who are learned, who know the Vedas, and not dealt properly with it, the society will suffer under this. So therefore, one has to be very careful with these four, parts of the society, because women needs to be protected in a way that they feel protected, not that they feel harassed. Children needs to be protected. Same thing with old people. So that this kind of concept, I think we have not yet really developed in a way. So it's good that we meditate about this concept and see on ourselves, not on others. I would also say that I have done a lot of not good things, and I have to regret them in a way. And go on. That's the mystical thing in spiritual life, is that I'm still here with the devotees. By the blessings of Narasimha, by the blessings of the devotees, that I can even sit on this Vyasasan, the place of Vyasadev, who speaks only truth. So that is what I want to say. Any question, Goranga?
Thank you very much for such a nice class. I really like this point that it's about our internal development, that we become examples of the philosophy by actually living it and experiencing Vrindavan in our heart, and not just focusing on external things. So you mentioned something about our inner shadows. And sometimes from my experience, we can do a lot of spiritual bypassing. Means like we do so many things, so much chanting and service, but we don't really become aware of what's really going on in our own heart and our ulterior motives and so on. So maybe you could share something on recognizing our inner shadow and how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe I'm not really good enough to talk and say those things, but from my standpoint of view, it's like always God tells you what, and we are deaf, how you say, taub? Deaf. Yes, we are not able to listen to the subtle, hints of Lord Krishna. So therefore, one has people who are older in the sense of spiritual life, who have already seen the truth, who have already developed truth, who have already catched the mercy of our acharyas, and they can give a hint. Like today, I was talking to some person and was telling them, it's not easy to listen to that voice, because we have so many blocks in our face in front of us. So therefore, it is on us to take the situation. It's not that God comes and takes you out and puts you there, and you yourself have to do the change. And a prayer is also very, very profound and very, instrumental in these things. So without that willing to change, and without that internal urge for purifying oneself, it will be impossible. Krishna is not there for taking out all the souls just out of their ignorance. This is called bhakti, actually. You yourself do an endeavor. Actually, we don't believe so much in bhakti. We believe more in sharanagati, which is a self-endeavor to surrender. And with that self-endeavor of surrender, Krishna sees the honesty of that person. Otherwise, it will be very shadow. And it's just for the audience. Those sahajas, they're playing, when they do kirtan, suddenly they get into a trance. And then they fall on the floor and get, foam in front of their mouth. But once the kirtan is over, they come and take a smoke. Maybe that is it is not really the bhava, the emotions towards God, but this is more like self-esteem, to glorify oneself. So to overcome those things, one has to develop these subtleties on spiritual life. The subtleties will come with truthfulness. Again, you will be not very subtle if you're always cheating and lying around yourself, because you're thinking you can cross the law of nature. Once you have that knowledge, crossing the law of nature, you can do anything. You can cheat and hide, and it will be very, very difficult and to listen to that voice of Krishna, or to listen to other sadhus and swamis, and it will be not possible. So therefore, do small steps. It's much better. Just small endeavors, and then reaching the goal. Instead of just doing everything. I want to get married and get a child in 3 months. Oh, that is possible. Not possible. It needs time. A child first to develop and to take birth, and what to speak about, get married, arrangements, everything. So similar thing. It's like in spiritual life. It's not you putting an outlook, you're shaving, get tilak, and get a nice dress, and dancing around the kirtan. That is the external thing you do to develop the internal thing. Later on, these external things will go along in the same way as your internal things. But that takes a long span of period of time. Sometimes you not feel inspired, sometimes you feel inspired, like that. But you have to go through it, and then once you're getting, like, you can see the horizon, see the sky suddenly. That will come in some certain stage. Like also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, how the different stages of development into spiritual life. So that comes step by step. But don't rush into it. As they're saying, don't rush into the kingdom of God. There's no rushing. There's always giant Vijay in front of you. You will not allow to enter. Saying, stop, not further. Yeah. So, yeah. Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit what it means to be truthful to yourself?
I just wanted to say this point was, and I passed the mic on, but that was such a deep and such a beautiful point that Sharanagati means we are honest with ourselves and we really try our best to be pure, and that attracts Krishna's mercy. He sees we really want to have a change of heart.
Right.
So that was a very nice point. Okay. Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you please explain a bit about elaborate a little bit about what it means to be truthful to yourself?
Yeah, from my personal experience, truthfulness is something to regret also, and go to that person which I may have offended and excuse myself, which is the lowest step of truthfulness. It is not very high, but you could say I'm on that stage where I realize later on, oh God, I made some crazy mistake, and I go to that. It's sometimes very hard, go to the person and ask, oh, sorry, I have offended you, may I have offended you, and but I realized offending can be very, very subtle, and even into sometimes, when you talk with somebody, you might have harm his emotions, and that develops into some really dislike. So that if you don't, it's not like that you can be loved by everybody. It's not possible, but at least have a respect. And that is something I think I'm working on it. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. And truthfulness and being myself, also accepting that I'm not a really sadhaka, that I do things all the time on the proper time, that I have developed my spiritual practice in a way that is first class, to accept this, but to work on it and to get some taste. Very interesting, Kadambakana Swami, long time ago, some years ago, was asking, he was giving a class here, and he was asking in the crowd, how to develop, a taste for spiritual life. And then I was sitting somewhere far back in the corner of the temple room, and then he turned around, hey, Amara, what do you think? You get your taste spiritual life? Huh? It's like, Then I told him, I was like, because I'm into puja and into rituals, and that made me connecting. I have a subject which I go for. Everyone has a subject in his life, so I developed that subject, rituals, pujas, as my subject, to go into it and to get the taste for my spiritual life. So for that moment, I felt truthfulness, because I could not say I'm good in book distribution, I'm not good in cooking, nor I'm good with cows or with people as manager, and that was the beginning of my you could say one of the steps I made on beginning of my spiritual life, because he ignited in me the truthfulness to be okay. What really what really makes you getting into spiritual life. So why this? Later on, I got more into it, because I realized, yes, I have found it. I have to just develop it more. I get more into it. So if you have the urge to teach, let's say, astrology or to teach Ayurveda, go into it and connect it with Krishna. That's the secret also. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Amara Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
What do you think is the connection between truthfulness and communication? Because you were referring to truthfulness in relation to others, to the society outside, when they see and appreciate this truthfulness in us.
Mm.
But I was thinking among the society of devotees, do you think that sometimes truthfulness can advocate lack of communication maybe? Sometimes I notice that saying a certain statement or so-called truth to a certain devotee may hurt his or her feelings, so I prefer not to say anything. So at the same time, it's lack of truth and lack of communication that is ruining everything. Can you say something about this?
Yeah, in general, you have to stick to truth, and may the circumstance was not the proper, but you have to realize to tell him the truth in some other circumstance. That means when you feel that you have to say something in audience, let's say in this audience, I cannot speak anything and everything. You have to see what is the audience, how to, who can take it, what they can take it. That's already kind of, Shukadev Goswami wouldn't do that, or Vyasadev wouldn't do that. But because, we are on a different stage. We are not on the platform of Shukadev. We are not on the platform of Vyasa who can say these things that it goes reaching his soul. So therefore, we have to handle it in a way that, but not politically correct, I would say. You have to select a time when you go to him and then tell him, okay, later on, before we were talking about this issue, I couldn't say in the audience the situation. Now I explain it to you in my understanding. So like communication is very important. With this, you remove all the obstacles in a society, because if you don't talk, then it will, as I said, like a smell in a room, it will stay there, and it will pollute everything. Everyone who comes in this room will get polluted. So therefore, you have to clean the room, open windows, and have good air. That's society. Okay, good, my dear. One more. Oh, yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Amara.
Hare Krishna.
It was a very informative lecture. Thank you. My question is, you made a point about brahmanas and the king, and for sure that the brahmanas should be truthful, and that they're not really dependent on the king and on the kingdom. And actually, could you say maybe to the example for our days, because we have like a little bit similar situation. We have temples, we have brahmanas, we have kshatriyas. Like actually, somehow it works. And how is this relation now in our days, especially for ISKCON and for brahmanas? Are they dependent or independent, or what's the situation? Because it's a little bit like a different.
Yeah, I think you can examine by yourself and find out easily, but it should not be that the managers telling the brahmanas, how things should be done, in particular in relationship to deity worship, in particular in relationship to temple building, and the managers should listen to the knowledge of those priests, how those things should be developed in a way to help the community. Because the concept is that the Brahmins have such a knowledge, they will give the proper solutions. That means also, if you go to select the date by an administrator, he would just say, oh, look, the Monday is good for opening the temple. Let's say, this is just an example. Or the Saturday is a good example for opening the temple and do the whole. Now that Brahmin will say, no, Saturday is not good because it's ruled by Saturn and it's not really, it's an obstacle day. We don't take this. We want to have Krishna's energy in the house, so we take another day, which is maybe Friday or Thursday, which is the day of Guru and Shastra and all that, and we take Guru Purnima as something like that. So the administrator will understand. Okay, but I have to put it around that day. So that kind of thing, it's going on in our society, and as much the administrators will listen to the Brahmins, as much the society will also develop. And this is inclusive with, again, protecting women, protecting children, protecting cows, protecting the learned. That is all going together. If this is not working together, administrator makes a cut, only money goes to me, then that will be cheating. Society will be destroyed. So therefore, the Brahmins should not be dependent on the administrator in a way that, he will kick me out from the temple, so better I don't say what is the truth, or my knowledge on astrology will, he don't like to listen because it's not fitting his plans. If the administrator go to the Brahmin, then he should accept what he says. Of course, we as normal individuals, we are not very much developed our Brahminical culture or Brahminical identity. It's kind of still in the process. So it's very hard to find good astrologers, hard to find good stapatis, good pujaris. All these things are difficult. And therefore the administration also has to choose from this vast community which one is good, which one is not good. It's very difficult. So it's Kali Yuga. It's not, and Prabhupada wanted that everyone becomes a Brahmin in one sense. But of course, there is inherent nature in us. And some people are more inclined to protect cows and more inclined to teaching children. And, that's like the nature of us. But so the administrator also should get the sense of what it means to be a Brahmin. So therefore, yeah. Good, thank you. Now I think breakfast, huh? Maybe one lady we can have.
The material life, the aspect that we choose to focus on, to Krishna, because you also mentioned that we should connect the two, and balancing it is already hard enough, and finding the connection itself is something that's boggling my mind.
Yeah, I understand. It's like, there's like this one leg in this world and one leg in that world, how to connect those things together. In general, devotee stays with both feet on one spot. That's the first concept. And he develops what is anyway his inherent nature. So if you're a teacher and you become a school teacher, then your personal internal life will be dedicated to Krishna. While you teach the children only ABC, you don't teach them Vedas. Once they come on that certain level and you get the freedom in the society to speak about it, then you develop that. So there's just one example. We are not two-leg society. We stay with both feet in our mission, and even if you're working as a healer or working as in a sauna or something, you still have your spiritual life strongly based on your daily platform. Maybe it's not visible from the outside, but that's okay. You don't need to go with tilak in the sauna, but still you have the devotion and towards Krishna, and in the end of the day you do a prayer, and in the morning of the day you do a prayer, and by this slowly, as I said, we are not. Some people have thinking we all sitting in the same car. Some people riding a Ferrari, some people just a Skoda. Maybe that you have to accept where you are. That's one. Again, truthfulness. You have to accept where you are, what you are, and that you, from that platform, you want to develop something. Not that you want to stay there. I don't want to be like a garbage keeper. You be a garbage keeper, but then develop the devotion towards God, and then inherent nature will come up. Because after cleaning all the dirt, all the karma, then the inherent nature will come and shine. And then you will find your path, and your practice will go together. Okay? Sorry, very theoretically, but something hint from my life. Thank you very much, and have nice breakfast. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Nrsingadev Mahotsava Ki Jai. Then see you all in festival. Hare Krishna.